Hello, welcome to another episode of Inside the Huddle. Today is Saturday, May 31st. This is episode 65 of the Inside the Huddle podcast. Thank you, as always, for joining us. Make sure to please like and subscribe. We have reached the last day of May. NFL OTAs in full swing, getting closer to mandatory minicamp. Training camp, of course, as each day rolls by, gets closer and closer as well. So getting closer to the summer. And today, got a couple topics on store for you guys. Quarterback rankings, some tight end news, potential tight end trades, and we'll also break down some of the Stefon Diggs drama that's happening in New England. So, DiMari, how's it going, man?
Yeah, I'm doing pretty good. Talking about OTAs, I'm actually getting a little excited for football once again. Kind of seeing the Dak Pickens Lamb trio going through it in OTAs, kind of lighting up the secondaries. But other than that, yeah, pretty slow news week. We got a few topics here, but slow for everybody. But Stefon Diggs kind of out in the news, kind of doing some crazy things pre-training camp. But yeah, like I said, we got something new today with the quarterback ranking, so that's something new for everyone to see. So let's get into it.
Yeah, definitely. Diggs saw there is no headlines, so he's like, might as well make the headlines myself. So he is before he's even called a pass in New England, before he's even had a practice in New England, he's already indulged in drama and off the field issues and potentially even getting cut. So we'll see how that all ends up playing out. But we'll start here today with the quarterback ranking quiz or quarterback ranking, I guess, test, however you want to put it. We'll throw it up here on the screen. So basically, we'll go through all of these quarterbacks. Some of these will be easier than others. Some of these will be harder than others. We'll go through, compare these quarterbacks. It's almost comparing essentially just about every single quarterback in the NFL. And then at the end, it gives us a ranking. So we'll kind of see where both of us stand with how we would rank our top 10, top 5, top 15, and just in general quarterbacks across the league. So we'll kick it off here with Caleb Williams, Sam Darnold. What are your thoughts on this one?
I have to go with Sam Darnold.
Yeah, I will too. I agree with that. Caleb Williams not shown enough. Darnold coming off a big year. So we'll give it to Sammy Dimes. All right, Dak and Herbert.
Now this has been quite the debate for some time. I mean,
Yep.
all I'm saying is, you look at the two guys. Both guys put up big numbers. One guy, let's put it this way: both guys put up some great numbers. One guy seems to, I guess, the league forgets to see what he did in his one playoff. You know, his one playoff game, which wasn't too much, but luckily for the Jags just being awful. I'm gonna go
Trevor
Dak on this
Lawrence.
one. Yeah, I'm gonna go Dak on this one. I know it's gonna seem biased, but Herbert has put up great numbers, but I've always told numbers and stats don't matter what you do in the playoffs. Dak is more experienced, more wins come playoff time. Give me Dak Prescott.
Yeah, I agree. Dak's the better quarterback. Like you said, significantly better numbers. And Herbert last year was playing well, then had that started to struggle a little bit down the stretch, and it went into the Texans game, was terrible, and got bailed out by the Jacksonville not the Jaguars. Got bailed out by the Jaguars and essentially Trevor Lawrence and Doug Peterson. Got bailed out by them. They win that game. They blew the game. I apologize. They blew the game against Trevor. Brandon Staley. The Jaguars got bailed out by Staley. So I agree with you. I'm going to go Dak here as well. He's just a better quarterback. Dak we know, wearing the star on that helmet, he's going to get a ton of hate. He's going to get a ton of attention. Everything he does, the media is going to talk about it. They're going to break it down and discuss it from all different angles. When you really peel it back, if you put Dak on, to me, if you put Dak on the Chargers and you would have put Herbert on the Cowboys, like Dak would have so much more support than what, in a way, than like, if that makes sense, than what Herbert has now too, if that kind of adds up, because I think the Dak hate also comes by just people hating the Cowboys.
Yeah, and I've said it
So,
before. If you put any of the other 31 helmets on Dak Prescott, he is a top 10 quarterback and loved throughout the league. But like I said, with the stars, it's gonna bring some hate. But we got to stop acting like this isn't a top 10 quarterback in our league.
yeah, 100%. All right, this one I think is pretty easy.
Yeah, no brainer. No
Yeah,
brainer on that one.
obviously Joe Flacco. We'll go
Cleveland
Herb
Browns, Joe
there.
Flacco.
Yeah, Cleveland Browns Joe Flacco is honestly tough to beat in some areas. All right, this one's interesting. Baker Mayfield, Jaden Daniels. Mayfield still on the career resurgence, couple good years in Tampa, playoffs. Uh, we talked about it last year with Baker. Should have been maybe more in the topic of conversation in the MVP. You also look at, some of the receiver injuries they were dealing with last year for him to still put up numbers. You look at the statistics alone, he was near the top of the league. And just in general, like the whole definition of the MVP, we've talked about a lot with some of these guys. If you remove some of these players, how good would their team still be? The Bucks were one of those teams with Mayfield where if you remove Mayfield, they're going to see a significant drop off, especially last year with the weapons that he was using. And of course, Daniels year one goes to the conference, championship game, falls short against Philly, but a monster season year one, and you only expect better in year two. So this is the first really tough one, I would say. Or tough
Honestly,
one, rather.
honestly, I think a big thing is recency bias. And we both
Mhm.
know that. Obviously, Jaden Daniels being a rookie last year, like you said, getting to the conference championship.
Yeah.
Everyone likes new, everyone likes flashy, everyone likes exciting. And it was the same story with CJ Stroud. And we seen how
Mhm.
Stroud had looked in his second year. Not saying Daniels would do the same thing in his second year, but it's always when we get something new, everyone hops on the hype train and the bandwagon. But if we're talking about consistent over the course of the last few years with Baker and Tampa, you just mentioned it. Some of the guys getting hurt, what he was playing with, and if you take Baker out of that lineup and you're starting Kyle Trask, they probably win 5 games. This team was in the playoffs and competitive. Baker put up some great numbers. So if I'm taking recency bias out of it, I'm gonna go Baker Mayfield.
Yeah. Yeah, I tend to agree. And there's also just the whole track record too with it. Like you mentioned, it's been consistency over the couple of years. And this isn't Daniel's fault. He just came into the league last year, but it's tough to 100% say a rookie after one season is better than a guy who has now put together with 3 really good seasons under his belt, 3 seasons of making the playoffs. So, and I know people would say, well, Daniels won the head to head, right? They won the wild card game, but I still agree with you. I'm going to go Baker here. Has been an underrated MVP candidate, the last 2 years, especially last year. He just doesn't quite get the attention of some of the others. All right. This is a weird one. Michael Penix, Geno Smith. I think this is pretty obvious. Penix has done nothing in the NFL. Geno, similar to Baker, been on that resurgence. We both agree Vegas this year is a team to watch in the AFC West. That division as a whole is loaded. I'm assuming Geno.
Yeah, we're going Geno.
Yeah. Penix has done nothing. I mean, he could be great. We could look back at this next year and he is on the Jaden Daniels level route, one of those top young quarterbacks, or Falcons could be looking at a quarterback in 2026 draft. All right, Bryce Young, Brock Purdy. Purdy just got the contract. Bryce Young, after getting benched, one of the more only recent quarterbacks out of the young guys to get benched that actually benefited from it. And now you look at that offense, Dave Canales, Bryce Young, they get Tet McMillan, they add some pieces there. Xavier Legette, of course. Panthers are a team to watch this year. What are your thoughts on this one? I think it's pretty clear, but just what are your
Yeah,
thoughts?
I think it's pretty clear, but I think it's also a lot closer than we think. Like you
Yeah.
kind of mentioned it, we talked about it before with Carolina's stretch of games towards the end. You obviously had lost to Philly with the drop, Tampa Bay, the fumble at the end, going into overtime or in overtime to kind of lose that game. I think if you switch the two and you put Bryce Young, and I'm talking about Bryce Young after being benched, you put Bryce
Mhm.
Young on that Niners team from what they've had, you put Purdy on Carolina, just swap the two. I think Bryce Young has more success. So, I mean, like you said, Purdy got his payday, and we still think he is a glorified game manager, but hey, he got the bag. And he's proven that he deserves the bag, like the numbers show it. But I think you go with Purdy on this one. But Carolina and Bryce Young will be good next year.
Yeah, I agree. And that is an interesting way to look at it. If you swap the two situations and put Bryce Young on San Fran, could potentially have more success. This is close now. I think we could look back on this at the end of this year and it might be a different result because I think we both have high expectations for Bryce Young. And again, it's nothing against Purdy, but it should be easy to have success in that offense. The Shanahan offense with all those weapons. Don't make mistakes. Just get the ball to your weapons, find the open guy. He does that. Doesn't do anything crazy. So we'll go with Purdy here, though. All right. Obviously Drake May. I think that's pretty clear.
Absolutely.
With him and Diggs have been lighting it up at practice. So that's been good to see. Yeah, this is no debate here. Mahomes. I mean, May. We'll see if May can take a jump this year, but he's not on the level of Patrick Mahomes. Not many quarterbacks even are. Tyler Shook, Tua. We got. This is an ugly one. I'll be honest. Okay, this is an ugly one. I mean, it's Tua. Shook has not played a single game yet in the NFL, but this is like an easy first round matchup for Tua. Very easy. He could have had a first round exit, honestly.
This is his round of 64, but 32 it might not look too promising.
No, definitely not. So we'll roll Tua. I mean, Shook, there's no guarantees, even the starter. It might be Rattler. I don't think they'll pick up any other veteran. That Saints team's a complete disaster. We've crushed them enough, but that's that. Jordan Love, Richardson. I think this one's pretty obvious as well. Yeah. I mean, we kind of know what Richardson is. This is his last chance to prove us anything, but as of right now, it looks like he's trending towards the trajectory of, well, the Colts in general are trending towards the trajectory of finding a quarterback in 2026 and Richardson not being a part of the long-term plans. Similar to Purdy, Love locked up the bag last offseason. We'll go with Love there. All right. Jameis and Kyler. I think this one's Kyler as well. Talking about entertainment, Jameis.
Yeah.
He's probably top 5 then.
Well, Kyler during double XP for Call of Duty. Then we're talking about Kyler, but pure entertainment, we're gonna go Jameis, but I think this was a no-brainer.
Yeah, I mean, Jameis is not going to start in New York, and there's a chance he doesn't even play this year because you probably look at the Giants situation and say Russ will start, and then at some point they'll go to Dart. I don't know if there's a world where they even go to Jameis this year, barring maybe an injury from Russ early on where they don't want to throw Dart out there or whatever. But yeah, we'll go with Kyler, and we'll see. Kyler will be interesting to see where he finishes in this. This is an interesting one. 2 guys that got traded. One went on to win a Super Bowl. The other went on to help turn around a dysfunctional franchise to being a playoff team the last 2 years, 15-2 last season. This is the first real close one. What are your thoughts?
That's tough.
That's very tough.
That is tough.
It would be even tougher if the Lions would have been able to finish the job over one of the last 2 seasons, because then they would both have a Super Bowl. They were both in that trade. Yeah. But yeah, I mean,
both have played so much better since being traded. Yep. I want to give Jared Goff more props than I think I've given him this last year. I mean, we obviously know about Sonic and Knuckles, the punch with Gibbs and Montgomery, but Goff actually has some great numbers as far as with his arm, but you've seen some games where they don't run the ball too well and you rely on him to throw the ball and they don't look that great. But I can't even sit here and bash Jared Goff. I think he's came a long way since the trade. But if we're going off of, if I had to pick a guy right now out of those two, kind of start from scratch, hey, get me to the playoffs, at least a wild card, I think I'm going to go with Matthew Stafford.
Yeah, I feel like it's probably, I guess the way I view it is Goff's probably got, like, if you want the higher ceiling but lower floor in a way type of player where he can go out there and win you 15 games in the regular season but then throw 3 picks in the playoffs and lose like Goff did, then you take Goff, or you have that potential too of him going off in the playoffs. You take Goff, but I guess in a way with Stafford, if you want just the not incredibly flashy, not incredibly fancy, but gets it done type of quarterback, because Goff, the numbers are better in Goff's favor by a pretty wide margin. I mean, he had 37 touchdowns last year. Stafford only had 20. Goff at over 4,000 yards. Stafford was under 4,000. But if you want that consistent, like week in and week out, you know what you're going to get type of quarterback, then it's probably Stafford, which, like you hinted, part of me wants to go Goff.
I know I said Stafford, but I'm actually leaning Goff. At this point of their career, definitely you
Yeah,
got to go Jared
it's
Goff.
tough.
Yeah.
And the reality is, I mean, the Rams and the Lions essentially went to the same spot. And we've said this so many times that, and this is kind of on the Stafford argument, is they should have beat, if that was a normal weather game, they would have probably beaten Philly. And if they would have beaten Philly, we'd probably be talking about Stafford and the Rams right now in a completely different light, because they might have went on and won it all. Who knows what would have happened? Golf, you think that's your final guess?
Yeah. I think we
we'll
go
go
with
golf.
that.
Yeah, we'll go golf. You can have this one. I'm just gonna sit back and observe.
Of course, this is the one that pops up.
They knew what they were doing by this too. I'm just gonna. I don't have any say in this at all.
At this point, I want to flip a coin. I mean,
Yeah.
we saw some good Justin Fields last year. We saw some bad Justin Fields last year. We saw terrible Aaron Rodgers last year. I don't think we saw any good Rodgers. I mean, one game I do remember was that Jacksonville. It might have been come back against. I think it was Jacksonville.
Buffalo.
Yeah, so we didn't really see a lot of good Rodgers. I think Rodgers is way past that prime.
Oh, you mean the one good game he had?
The one good game.
Oh yeah, I
yes,
apologize. Yeah, that was Jacksonville. Then I thought you were talking about the really bad game he had in Buffalo. But yeah, Jacksonville, him and Devontae Adams had the vintage game when, against Mac Jones, right? You gotta show up for that game.
No. If I was talking about the one bad game, I could have picked one of the 16. One of those being waking up at 9:00 to watch him throw 3 picks against Minnesota and London. But no, I mean at this point of the and this is terrible. At this point of the career, I mean you have to go with Justin Fields, right? Because Fields has more upside. I mean, unfortunate for you, you had to see a year and 4 games of Rodgers. Now you got to see what Fields is going to bring next year. So you'll get the experience kind of firsthand the difference. But if we're just talking about at this current moment, Justin Fields.
Yeah, I think Fields projects better, certainly. I agree. Last year, it's tough because Fields only played the 6 games. Rodgers, and it was interesting because I've seen this so many times, and I've done some of the math myself. When you break down the numbers between the two, Rodgers last year had the better counting numbers, right? The yards, the touchdowns, all that stuff, which is expected because he played more games. But when you really dig deeper and you get into some of the advanced analytics, not only was Fields better than Rodgers, but Rodgers in so many areas last year was awful. When you look at like the advanced stuff, he was actually in some areas a bottom 10 quarterback in the NFL, right? The counting numbers showed him as the 12th best, 13th best quarterback, but some of the advanced stuff was ugly. And Fields, the advanced stuff, kind of ranked him in the middle, average, Rodgers below average. So it's whatever way you look at it. I'll be biased, and I guess I'll join you here. I'll go Fields. I mean, this is just me being biased, and I'm gonna ride with the guy that's under center for the Jets this season. That's gonna be Justin Fields, and I'm gonna go against the guy that just was this time last year was about to go to Egypt. That's probably the best way I could put it. And we, all of us Jet fans, myself included, had to defend him because he was supposed to be our savior. And Aaron Rodgers, don't criticize him. He's going to Egypt. Which, looking back on some of those takes, I regret some of the backing of Aaron Rodgers after all that just to win 5 games. And we also just we saw Rodgers too last year down the stretch. Like how many times, and this is why some of those advanced numbers are so ugly. How many times was it just an Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams, basically like AAU basketball, just throwing up lobs like 12, 13 times a game? I mean, Rodgers would throw the ball 40 times a game. They wouldn't run. This is when he was chasing down number 500. He just throw up. I mean, it was so annoying. He'd target Devontae, force feed Devontae. And most of them would be incomplete. Most of them wouldn't work. It was just Like centering your team around a 41-year-old aging quarterback with a torn Achilles is ridiculous. So I'll join you and say my hope and my, I don't see it happening, but the optimistic Jets fan inside of me, which is very small because they've beaten me down, is in a perfect world, Fields becomes your answer. And he has a resurgence like we've seen in Darnold and Mayfield. And in that case, he would jump a lot of quarterbacks in the NFL. So no more said. We're going to move Fields in front of Rodgers because why not? JJ McCarthy, Russell Wilson. This is interesting. JJ McCarthy hasn't thrown a pass. Very, very good chance halfway through this year, we could say JJ McCarthy's better. But as of right now, I think it's Russ, and that's just because, number one, Russ hasn't been that bad. Russ gets a lot more hate than he should. The Mr. Unlimited, the cringe stuff, that stuff is why people just troll him. But when you really break it down and watch him, he hasn't been that bad. He's still a solid quarterback. He is still a stopgap level quarterback, not a guy that's going to take you to a Super Bowl or make a deep run in the playoffs anymore. Those days are behind him. But he's a guy that, in the Giants situation, can come in, start in front of a rookie, be that stopgap, be that leader for him. McCarthy's thrown a couple passes in the preseason. It's just right now it's too early for him.
Yeah, I agree. It's Russ.
Yeah, Mr. Unlimited moving on.
Ooh.
Burrow Allen. I want to go Burrow. I want to go Burrow 100%. I want to go Burrow. But Allen's the MVP. I don't know. What are your thoughts? I've spoken enough the last couple minutes.
That's tough. I mean, oh, that is brutal. I mean, if Joe Burrow did not rely on a bunch of Pizza Hut workers as his secondary this year, we're talking about Cincinnati winning a lot more games and him being the MVP. I mean, the numbers that he put up this year were insane. The amount of games that they scored 30 plus and it came down to them still losing 6 points or less because the defense was terrible was insane. And actually, you kind of think about it, Jaden Daniels can thank that Bengals game for his kind of resurgence and my welcome to the league moment because they marched into Cincy and beat them how they did. But this is tough. It feels wrong to eliminate either or at this stage of where we're at. But Josh Allen's the MVP.
Yeah.
But Joe Burrow is those numbers for Burrow. I mean, they were incredible. But
yeah, I 100% agree with you. And Burrow's beating Allen in the playoffs. Burrow's beating Mahomes in the playoffs. Burrow actually led the NFL last year in touchdown passes and yards. So there is a strong case to be made. It should be Joe Burrow. And like you said, if he didn't have Taco Bell, Pizza Hut, whatever workers as his secondary, or name any Jets corner that played for the team from like 2017 to 2022, if he didn't have those guys in the secondary, those level of players, then they would have been a playoff team, and we're probably talking about Joe Burrow winning the MVP.
And I mean, remember too, I think it was the last 4 games, whatever. They went on a win streak. They were hot, and it came down to the end of the year. They needed, I believe, Denver to beat Kansas City, but Denver rested everyone, and Carson Wentz had a prime Carson Wentz type game. So I mean, I know you can't look at the if and the buts and whatnot, but despite how bad that football team looked all year, Joe Burrow was consistent. Can't remember a game where Joe Burrow actually looked bad. But I mean, again, you throw the MVP on top of Josh Allen, it kind of gives him the upper hand. But Burrow's numbers were better. His defense was terrible. I'm gonna let you click what you click, but I wouldn't be mad at either one. Honestly, pressure's on you, but I'm not mad either way.
Yeah, sorry, Bills fans. It's not good to have Jets fan in charge of the clicker here. But no, and you mentioned it, right? If Carson Wentz Carson Wentz at this point's a Pizza Hut worker too. If he's not starting at quarterback in that final game, I'm not saying they're going to win, but Mahomes gives them a significantly better shot. Broncos were definitely a lot more desperate, right? Fighting for their playoff lives. The Chiefs were already in. So even if Mahomes was out there, who knows? how much of the playbook they would have even ran. It probably would have been much more watered down, avoid injury, head into the postseason. But the game prior, right? That Denver game against Denver, 412 yards, 3 touchdowns. Like, he was huge down the stretch. He was put the team on his back. But yeah, look, at the end of the day, Allen is the MVP. He won MVP. He made the playoffs. As much as as much as the Bengals didn't miss the playoffs because of Joe Burrow, they weren't in. Allen was, yes, they fell short again, but he's the MVP. So I'm going to go Allen. My heart tells me go Burrow, but the gut and really at the end of the day, the facts, Josh Allen won the MVP. And you can't, like you said, you can't take that away. So we'll go Allen. Oh, this is Trevor Lawrence all day. Man, I'm happy we got this matchup for Trevor Lawrence. I don't think there's anything that needs to be said.
There's nothing that needs to be said.
Moving on.
Nothing that needs to be said about
nothing
that.
Needs
yeah,
to be said.
Nothing.
Just keep moving. Nothing.
Nope. Keep moving.
Ooh. All right, so now we got some of the. Now it kind of goes the players that we didn't pick face off against the other players that we didn't pick.
Mm-hmm.
So now we get some more interesting matchups here. I'm gonna probably lean towards Herbert, but you could make the Caleb case. Again, this is one of these things where come back in a year and we very well could be Caleb over Herbert, and it's not even a conversation.
Yeah. I think I agree. You got to go Herbert here. I mean, with surely the Avengers that they've assembled in Chicago, Caleb Williams has to be good this year. Now with obviously the addition of Luther Burden, still got a Dunze, DJ Moore, got to be good, but it's still gonna be Herbert. Still just more proven at this point.
Yeah. There's not much more the Bears can do with Caleb. They gave him Ben Johnson. They gave him the hottest coordinator on the market. They gave him, not only did they draft the Dunze last year, they also have, of course, DJ Moore, but then they draft Luther Burden. They have built up that offensive line. They're doing everything around him, so it's in his hands now. It's another interesting one. This is little Darnold over Caleb, Herbert also over Caleb. So it's the battle of the quarterbacks that are better than Caleb Williams. It's like the Caleb Williams tier. This is the Caleb Williams side of the bracket. This is interesting.
That's tough.
If we're going like last season, Darnold was better.
Yeah.
But if we're comparing these guys from essentially entering the league at what? Herbert was 2020, right? And Darnold was 2018. So only 2 years removed. Herbert's had the better career, but last year Darnold was better. So it's kind of like this is another interesting one.
This is where it gets tough, because there's going to be some where we're going overall better quarterback, like career-wise, and there's going to be some where we're going to go based off of the one season. Yeah, we're talking one season, it's Sam Darnold, but it kind of doesn't help that he had that one season with Minnesota, and it's like, hey, thanks for your participation. Have fun in Seattle. It rains a lot. Enjoy the coffee. And if for Herbert's case, I mean, like I said, guy has been there since 2020. We kind of know what Herbert is. I honestly still think Herbert has underachieved a lot from what the expectations were for him when he got into the league. You were expecting MVP type numbers and just a team that you know is almost a for sure check-in for the playoffs every year, and that's just not what it's been. He's obviously dealt with injuries. The team has dealt with injuries, but I think what we've seen from him last year is what we're going to see moving forward, and better, obviously, with Harbaugh kind of calling the shots. But I don't know where to go with this one.
Yeah, I'm. You brought up an interesting point just about the Darnold thing, and with Herbert. Like, I think I'm going to go Herbert here, and just because I think it's interesting too to bring up the point with Minnesota, all those weapons those guys had, and we're not taking anything away from Darnold, but if we're being fair, who is working with a better situation around them? Not coaching wise exactly, because Harbaugh was phenomenal last year with LA, and he continues to build that thing up, but weapons wise, it was Darnold. And I just think you throw a lot of quarterbacks into Minnesota, they're going to have success. It's similar to the Brock Purdy thing in San Fran, right?
Yeah.
I think this is one of these things where if Darnold already had a year under his belt in Seattle and he played like he did in Minnesota, 100% Darnold. But I want to see now what he's going to do in Seattle, because now he's really got to elevate like he does. I mean, they got rid of DK. They still have JSN and pieces like that. But I'm going to go Herbert. I think he's done just last year, did more with less, or did not more with less, but did essentially less with less. But Darnold was put in the perfect situation. Now, he's got Cooper Kupp, has JSN, so has two solid receivers there as well. Not on the Justin Jefferson tier, of course. Even the Kevin O'Connell tier as well, right? Coaching wise. So I'll go Herbert. That's what I'll say. If you're on board with that, we'll go Herbert. All right.
That. Yeah.
Daniels. I mean, I don't think there's much discussion. Rookie. We only have 1 year to base off of. Definitely Daniels. All right. This is an interesting one. I mean, if we're going off of the playoffs and stuff, I mean, you're taking Hurts, right? If you're going off the regular season last year, you're taking Daniels. Hurts won the Super Bowl. That sort of feels like the whole Josh Allen MVP thing. You can't take that away. What are your thoughts?
Honestly, I was actually having this combo at work yesterday with the comparison was Jaden Daniels to RG3 rookie year. Jaden Daniels' numbers weren't that great. Honestly, not taking nothing away from him. They weren't that great. I think he threw 20 touchdowns? I can't remember exactly. I know it's somewhere between 20 and 24. Don't remember what the interceptions looked like. And the rushing, I think he had like 860-ish, something around there. So again, it goes back to that point where it's kind of hard to say, because you look at that Washington team with no expectations going into the season, obviously make the conference championship game, but does end up giving up 60. But Daniels' numbers were not phenomenal. But it's just the fact of he led the team there. And once again, everyone likes flashy. You like the new shiny toy. Jaden Daniels is the new shiny toy. But, I mean, this wasn't obvious. It has to be Jalen Hurts. A lot more proven. When Hurts got into the league, he kind of was almost seemed like the Lamar Jackson kind of thing. Lamar getting picked dead last in that first round. It was kind of like that. Hurts obviously dropped into the second. A lot of people were unsure about his accuracy and his arm once he came into the league. There's still some questions about Hurts and his arm. We see some great games with Hurts throwing the ball, and we see some where you're just like, yeah, buddy, just hand the ball off to Saquon Barkley. But, again, he won the Super Bowl. It got to be Hurts.
Yeah, I agree with you there. And you mentioned it, right, with Daniels as well. I agree with your point with the whole Hurts stuff. And I always believed in Hurts when they drafted him. I always thought that was an underrated addition. And Hurts has always kind of flown under the radar, even the whole Super Bowl run, right? It was all about Saquon, all about the defense. Hurts has kind of gotten criticized, some of it warranted. Daniels, like you mentioned, the new flashy car, the new flashy toy. He's the guy that everybody was, hyping up. Hurts is the one that won the Super Bowl. Hurts has been the one that's made the playoffs consistently. So I agree. We'll go Hurts here. These are getting tough. Hurts won the Super Bowl, but to be honest, who is the better
Baker
quarterback?
Had a better year.
Yeah, it's Baker. I think it's Baker.
We're gonna get dragged. It's Baker. You put this. You swap the weapons for the two. Actually, I can't even say that. Tampa Bay had great weapons. The weapons weren't available to play.
Yeah.
I mean, all I'm saying, we're gonna look at it just from this level. Smitty, AJ Brown, Godwin, Evans. You understand what you get there. I think Baker does a lot. Well, it's hard to say because it's not like Jalen Hurts lost in the second round. So I don't want to say Baker does a lot more with Saquon, but we're rocking out with Bucky Irvin and it's working. Can you imagine Baker with Saquon Barkley? I think I'm gonna go with Baker.
Yeah, I agree. And he had the better season. And also I would say, just from a quarterback perspective, he's got the better like passing ability as well, right?
Yeah.
That's been one of the biggest knocks on Hurts. His legs, of course, are there. You talk about overall arm legs, it's Baker. Statistically, it's Baker. And yeah, he did more with less in some ways last year. You give him Saquon Barkley, you're probably talking about Tampa Bay. We might be talking about Todd Bowles as a Super Bowl champion.
Yeah.
So I agree. Let's go with Baker here. Bryce Young. I think that's pretty clear. Now, if Bryce Young was awful last year, even after getting benched, you might be able to make the case that Michael Penix couldn't be any worse. But Bryce Young, of course, had the good year after getting benched. All right. This is an interesting one, I would say.
I think we'll go Geno,
What are your
though.
thoughts?
I think I'll go Geno.
Yeah. I'll go Geno as well. Let's throw this up. All right. Ooh. Brock Purdy, Geno Smith.
Purdy for this.
Purdy. I agree. Good old Drake May and Tyler Shook. Say good battle there. We'll go Drake May, right?
Yeah.
All right. Tua. Yeah. I agree. Some of these easy ones. All right. Mahomes. We've kind of reached a pretty decently easy stretch here.
Yeah.
Mahomes. This is interesting. And it's in some areas sad that it's interesting. But it's interesting. What are your thoughts on this one?
Jameis Winston.
Yeah. That's sad.
I don't think there's much to say about Richardson. We already have talked about it. Yeah, you can throw the 60-yard, bomb into double coverage and complete it, but you can't throw the 5-yard out on the goal line. So it's gonna be Jameis.
Yeah, I agree. We'll go Jameis there. All right. Jordan Love, Jameis Winston. I think this is pretty obvious. It's Jordan Love. Love?
I would go Love again.
Yeah. Maybe 5-6 years ago, Rodgers, but right now it's Stafford.
Yeah. Stafford.
Burrow.
He's getting a little easier.
Yeah.
Burrow again.
Burrow. the just I want there is just such a part of me right now that wants to go with
troll and go Mason Rudolph.
Troll and go Mason Rudolph. Oh man. That would be
it's Trevor.
Else.
As much as we want to troll, it's Trevor.
Yeah,
unfortunately.
It's definitely Trevor. 100% Trevor. This is to me Bo Nix.
Yeah, I'm on board. I like Bo Nix.
Yeah. To me, it is 100% Bo Nix.
Yeah.
All right. Interesting. In some ways, an interesting one here. What are your thoughts on this one?
I would probably go Stroud. I know we've seen a fall off in year 2. You got to take injuries into consideration. I mean, Collins with the hamstring, obviously Tank Dell got injured later on in the year. With Stefon Diggs surfacing, we don't know what Stefon Diggs was possibly doing in Houston during the football season. So that brings up a little concern of, just add it to insult. Knicks, obviously, again, this is the recency bias type of thing, but he did take that team that we completely destroyed all offseason and did something very good and something we thought we would never see from Denver.
Mm-hmm.
But this is one of the ones that you're kind of saying that we could look back into, going into next offseason, look back and say, hey, remember where we went this time, but I think you go Stroud, but that very much can change during the season.
Yeah. I agree. And there's a chance he takes a jump this year. Bo Nick over Stroud as well. But we'll go Stroud right now. Just making sure you have no echo on your end, right?
Yeah, no, you're good.
Okay. All right. I think Caleb Williams.
Cam hasn't played a snap.
Nope. Lamar.
Yep.
Lamar.
Yeah. Lamar again.
The floor is yours. The floor is yours.
You know, I've said this before. I'm gonna die on this hill. That Dak was robbed of the MVP. Obviously, not last year, year before. Numbers were significantly better than Lamar as far as the passer. Lamar, obviously, you throw in the Russian aspect of it, made things look better. But respectfully, I look. Obviously, one of them being my quarterback, the other one I love Lamar Jackson. But respectfully, they're two guys that do the exact same thing almost every single season. It seems like great numbers in the regular season, gets to the playoff time and doesn't perform as well. I'm not going to say stink up the place, doesn't perform as well. And this year, Lamar with Derrick Henry, we expected them to make the Super Bowl. They did not. But two things I don't do is I don't take Dak Prescott slander. I don't take Lamar Jackson slander. I'm not slandering either. The obvious choice here is Lamar Jackson. The choice should be Lamar Jackson. So let's go Lamar Jackson.
All right. Yeah, I agree. I'll roll with you on this one.
Yeah.
It's close, no doubt, but we'll go with Lamar. And to be fair, again, this is the whole thing, like you mentioned with the this is a clunker coming up next. The whole thing with the whole Dak Lamar debate too is like Dak gets significantly more hate for not criticism for not getting it done in the playoffs when in reality Lamar's done the same. So
yeah.
You got to bring that into factor as well, but we'll go Lamar.
This is crazy. I'm gonna go Michael Penix.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, we're gonna go here. This is kind of a projection type of one. We're gonna go project. Yeah. Penix will be better than Flacco. I think that's pretty clear. We'll go Penix. Daniels. Yeah. It's closer than. All right.
You got to go Purdy. I mean, again, we've talked about it.
Yeah, more proven.
Yeah.
Look, they made outside last year. They've been making the playoffs. They had the playoff run with him. He does what he needs to do. Yeah, Purdy. Hurts, right? Hurts. I feel like there's no way we're taking Purdy over Hurts.
Yeah, it's Hurts.
I just feel like we'll go Hurts. Oh my God.
Richardson, unfortunately.
Is there a button to press where
skip?
Skip.
Yeah, let's go Richardson.
May.
Yeah. I think I would go May on this one.
Yeah, it's close. But I'll go with May as well. He's going to be better than Winston. And last year they weren't. I mean, Winston's obviously more time, but we'll go May. Yeah. Kyler. I feel like he's barely getting by. Kyler Murray too. I'm personally going Kyler.
Personally, I would say Tua. This previous season gave Tua such a bad look, but you know, this acting like Miami has been fun to watch. They've been an exciting team, but I think he played so much more conservative with injury and trying not to get hurt, where Tua was not himself. But we got to be honest, this was a Dolphins team that after Tannehill, they're like there was no upside. They would be bottom of the barrel for quite some time.
Mhm.
And Tua has stepped in. We can say he's done his job. Hasn't looked as good sometimes, but every quarterback doesn't look that great sometimes.
Mhm.
Personally, I would go Tua. You're feeling Kyler. I wouldn't be mad either one you go, but if I wanted a QB right now, kind of to again, like I kind of saying with Stafford and Golf, I'm taking one of these guys. I'm like, hey, I want wild card. At least I probably would go with Tua.
Yeah. And you're right. Tua has from the that perspective, been more successful. You look at some of just they're close. They definitely are
They're
close.
similar. They're very close.
I guess I would just argue with Tua and even Kyler. I mean, I know he had DeAndre Hopkins at one point, but I think Tua's also just been in a little bit better situation. Kyler's gone
Yeah.
through multiple coaching, couple a coaching change already. Weapons wise, I mean, who he was throwing to last year. I get the Marvin Harrison, obviously, but then you get into your Greg Dortches of the world. Trey McBride made a name for himself, no doubt. I don't think Kyler had nearly the season that you'd want from him. And in some areas, and it's same thing with Tua. And I know Tua only played 11 games. Kyler played all 17. So Tua would have projected significantly more better statistically. I guess we could roll with Tua. We'll roll with Tua. Jordan Love.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mahomes. Man, the urge for me to take JJ McCarthy right now.
Yeah. In a sense, I want to, but you know who you got to go with. Unfortunately. I'm going Russ. I'm
Yeah.
going Russ.
This is the battle of
Mid.
future Pittsburgh quarterback versus
Yeah.
past Pittsburgh quarterback, right?
Yeah. I think you go with
we'll
Russ
go
on
Russ.
this one.
It's a good one.
Ooh, well, we seen this one last year. Fields last year for Pittsburgh, they didn't look too bad. What were they 4-2? I think before
Yep.
the potential of Russ coming back. And it was a debate: do you go Russ? Do you go Fields? And then Russ stepped in and looked pretty good. And like, okay, Tomlin knows what he's doing. Again, they were sitting at 10-3. They had that stretch of losing 4 straight.
Mm-hmm.
But I think you go. Russ for the passing aspect of
Yeah.
it. Fields was not getting it done as a passer.
Fields is a runner near the top of the league. Russ as a passer, though, is better. Fields still has to be better as a passer. That's a big key piece in whether or not he could be a long-term piece. So I agree. We'll go Russ. Stafford.
Burrow.
Yep. Burrow.
Yeah.
Oh my, Cam Ward.
I don't care. I'm going Cam Ward. I know he hasn't played a snap. I'm going Cam Ward.
And I want to go. I want to go Cam Ward so badly here.
We said last time we weren't. Go Cam Ward this time. Who cares?
Why not? Why not? We've been taking this seriously all the way up until this point. You need at least one kind of.
But it's not that. Considering they actually play each other twice, it's not that crazy. If Cam Ward goes and sweeps Jacksonville this year, or even splits, and Cam has one great, depending on how they look head to head, it's not that crazy. I think Cam Ward is going to be better than Trevor Lawrence.
100%. I'll go Cam Ward.
Nick's on this one.
Yep. Knicks,
yeah.
I think so. Yeah. I'm very high on Bo Nix. I really am. I think he is. I think there's a chance we're talking about Bo Nix at the end of this year. Like not elite, but he might jump Daniels, even Shroud. I could see. I just think he's in a very good situation. Sean Payton coaching wise, I have very high belief in Bo Nix.
I do too. That's why I would go with Nick on this one as well.
Yeah,
I'm right with you.
This is gonna be a good battle. This just shows the AFC West is loaded. is a tough one. It feels like it's probably Herbert, but
Yeah.
there's a good chance though that again at the end of this year, Nix is above Herbert. And as a matter of fact, I make that prediction right now.
Yeah, I'm right with you. I'm not mad either way you go.
Bo Nix better? Is Bo Nix better than Justin Herbert? Like, is that?
Oh yeah. Herbert's numbers, they are.
I think they're pretty close, honestly. I actually think in some areas, Nix is probably better in majority of areas, actually. I think he's got more touchdowns. I think Herbert's got the better QBR. He's got the better QBR. He's got more yards. Got less interceptions.
Which, you look at it from two sides of it. Obviously, Herbert threw the ball a lot more than Nix, I believe so. So the higher QBR is, a lot more accuracy, a lot more efficient when it comes to a passer. Same with the yards. Well, yards comes off of just throwing the ball a lot more, but
and it's a rookie out of Nix. Like,
yeah,
there's going to be some growing pains. He kind of got his growing pains out of the way pretty early. The first 2 weeks for them were miserable.
Yeah.
And then that Jet game was bad as well, but they won that game against the Jets and like something clicked, or first 3 games were pretty bad. Even the game they won, I don't think he threw a touchdown.
I'm not mad either way you lean here.
Yeah, I think you can make the case either way. I think right now we'll go Herbert, but good chance we're taking Nix in the near future.
Yeah.
This is Stroud.
Yeah.
Dak.
Yeah. Got to be Flacco.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
I go Flacco again.
Yeah, I mean, Richardson's been, that's sad. Winston,
yeah.
This is the battle of the best backup in the NFL. Winston.
Mm-hmm.
Bryce Young.
Mm-hmm.
Bryce Young.
Slight edge.
This is gonna make my Kyler Murray Tua take look really bad.
I was gonna say slight edge to Kyler, but
another one that's could make a jump at the end of this year.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go Geno.
Yeah, I'm not mad at that.
I'm gonna go Geno. So with that logic, I should technically go Geno again. Yeah. I mean, is Geno better than Tua? It's another one of those that just does not sound right.
It doesn't, but you look at Geno, Geno doesn't get a lot of the
attention, hype,
respect that he deserves.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say go Geno. Yeah.
Yeah. And two, I think he is going to benefit, in Vegas. I think he's going to do well in Vegas. Mm-hmm. I think we could see Geno even take a jump. This one's Jordan Love.
I said this to you before. I haven't said it in this episode. I've always thought Jordan Love was a bit overrated.
Yeah.
But personally, I would go Jaden Daniels.
Yeah,
that takes away everything I've said, but I would go Jaden Daniels.
I agree. I think, look, which quarterback am I choosing for the next 10 years? Jaden Daniels.
Yeah.
He showed, if we're being honest, they're both very similar because even Love last year, I guess too, just Daniel. I mean, Love sat a couple years. Daniels just thrown right in, and he had a great postseason. Love, I know, not to bring back bad memories, but did go into Dallas and then almost beat San Fran. But I'll go Daniels. This is Mahomes. Yeah. Mahomes. Yeah.
I don't think we can put anyone above Mahomes. I mean, it's
yeah. JJ McCarthy.
Yeah.
Does it get to a point here where I want to pick
Floor is yours. Floor is yours.
I mean, it's just JJ McCarthy. Like, as much as we can project and troll Trevor Lawrence, JJ McCarthy, I've thrown the same amount of passes in the regular season as JJ McCarthy.
Yeah.
You know,
Go Trevor.
right now, I guess we'll go Trevor. And I don't want to do this, but I feel like we'll go Trevor. And oh my God, this is ugly.
It's Trevor again. I'm sorry. It's Trevor
Yeah,
again.
gotta
It
be
has
Trevor.
to be.
This is just like the battle of which quarterback's going to get you to 6 wins. It's the battle of like a 6 and 7 win quarterback right here. That's what this is. This is just the battle of mid. The floor is
Trevor.
yours. Trevor.
Yeah.
Trevor.
Oh, brother. These
Right?
are just significantly worse.
It's gotta be Trevor, right?
Yeah, we'll go Trevor again.
Why is all right, Stafford.
Yeah.
Stafford.
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 Yeah.
Stafford. Stafford.
Stafford. Yeah. All right, Stafford's on a streak here. I'm still going Stafford.
Yeah. Stroud took a little bit of a step back last year.
Yeah.
We'll go Stafford. Dak. I'm going Dak.
I'm going. Yeah, I agree. Dak on that.
Gonna go Dak. Dak.
Yeah.
I think so. And
Yep,
we're
I
gonna want to
agree.
talk about playoffs. Golf was terrible in the playoffs last year too.
Yeah.
So we'll go Dak.
Yep. Burrow.
Yeah, Burrow. It's
not even a debate. It's Joe Burrow.
I
This
personally
is
think
where
Burrow.
it gets.
I think Burrow.
Oh, this is where it gets tough
I
because
think
the MVP thing. You throw
yeah,
in
it is.
Lamar.
But I personally think it's I don't know. There's just something, but and again, I've said this a lot. There's a good chance that I won't like Joe Burrow in a couple years. If my football team can get competent enough to make the playoffs, and if Burrow knocks us out, then I'll start to not like Joe Burrow. But right now, I have no reason to not like Joe Burrow. I have no reason not to like Lamar. But I'm sorry, man. Like
Got to
Burrow's
get it done in the playoffs.
he's just better in my opinion. You watch. I've always had this thing with. I think Burrow's better.
Yeah, I would go Burrow here. I'm on board with that.
And then the numbers back that up as well. And we talked about it earlier. He was not the reason they missed the playoffs.
Close your eyes and pick one.
You know, should I do that?
Yeah, close it. Just
Yeah,
close
no,
and pick one.
I'm gonna look away. Hopefully my cursor. My cursor on one of them.
Yep, you're good.
I don't even know.
And
I picked Mason Rudolph, right? Or was Tyler show? No, that was Rudolph.
it was Rudolph.
This could file under the close the eyes too. I think Richardson.
Yeah.
JJ McCarthy.
Yeah.
I'm
JJ
taking
again.
McCarthy. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
McCarthy.
JJ again.
This is like better backup guy that is unknown. Is Winston better than
he looked kind of bad last year during some
Yeah.
games, but then he torches Denver on Thursday night for like 400. But I say JJ.
Yeah. Ooh.
Drake May.
Yeah. I'll go Drake May. Probably
Drake May.
Ooh. Drake May?
Drake May. Yeah.
All right. Go Drake May.
May again.
Russ. Bryce Young.
Mm-hmm.
Did I click Bryce? Oh yeah, okay, I did. I lost my cursor for a second. Bryce Young.
Bryce Young. Yeah. Yeah.
Bryce Young.
Bryce again.
Ooh.
Caleb has weapons, and he did not use those weapons too well last year.
Yeah. He's got more weapons now too. I mean, he's kind of got similar weapons.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm gonna go Caleb.
Yeah, you can go Caleb. I'm not too mad at that. Kyler.
Kyler. Darn.
Yeah, probably say
Yeah,
Darnold.
Darnold.
Mm-hmm.
He was supposed to be the savior. This is basically Darnold based off of last year, right?
Yeah, we'll go Darnold.
Jordan Love.
Yeah. Floor is yours.
I like Bo Nix a lot. I said that about 5 times already.
Floor is yours.
Do you have an opinion on this one? Or are you good with whatever?
I'm good with it with whatever. Again, I think Jordan Love is very
We'll go. Yeah,
overrated,
we'll go Bo Nix.
This is tough. I'm gonna
This
go
is
Daniel. You might be on board of Knicks.
Yeah, I might be. I
Daniels.
mean, yeah, probably is Dan. Yeah, we'll go Daniels.
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 Daniels again.
I personally think Stroud, but yeah, we'll go Daniels.
I mean, we like Stroud. We can go Stroud. That year two drop off was.
Yeah, I guess we
bad.
just don't know what. And this is just we don't know. I mean, Daniels could. Stroud's like he is the opposite of a lot of guys. Like he has showed up in the playoffs, but the regular season's kind of
true.
You know.
Yeah.
We'll go Stafford here. I think.
Stafford. Yeah.
Brock Purdy picture. There we go. Stafford.
Yep.
I mean, if we're talking about better quarterback, it's probably Stafford, right? It could be Hurts. This is one of these where
tough. I'm not mad either way.
Do you have like? Is there anything that leans you one way or the other?
It's just the rushing ability from Hurts, and one thing I can say about Hurts, we have seen it. It seems like we see it every year, where his passing is what comes into question, and he goes out and he gives you 350 and 4 touchdowns. You're like, okay, there's Jalen Hurts.
Yeah.
So just that rushing ability and just the all the outside noise Hurts kind of hears from media, and all he does is show up, play ball, and does what he's supposed to do. Can't believe I'm talking positive about a Philadelphia Eagle, but this is me talking about Oklahoma, Alabama, Jalen Hurts, not Philadelphia Eagles, Jalen Hurts. So I personally would say Hurts, but again, I'm not mad at either way you go.
Yeah, we'll go Hurts. This is interesting because we took off over Stafford.
We did.
I like Hurts too. I know that might not be coming off in this episode, but I've always thought Hurts got too much hate. Kind of what you were just saying there.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, again,
you go ahead.
I was like, again, like I don't hate Jalen Hurts. If Jalen Hurts plays for any of the other 31 teams, he'd be one of my favorite quarterbacks in the league. It's just he wears that disgusting winged helmet and plays for Philly, and that's where the hatred comes from. But I like Hurts. I think I've said it before. I got a chance to watch him in person once in college, and that was a fun experience. But I think I'd go Hurts here.
Yeah. We can go Hurts.
Yeah.
Uh
I knew it. I knew this was next.
Dak's better than Hurts.
I'm going Dak.
I know people are probably gonna Dak's better than Hurts. And Dak's better than Mayfield.
Yeah.
Mahomes.
Mahomes. A lot closer, but Mahomes.
Mahomes is
Is this the
getting
final
tight.
one? Yeah, Mahomes again.
I think it's gonna be Mahomes Allen next.
Mahomes and Allen. Yep.
Yep. I mean Mahomes, right?
Got to be Mahomes.
I guess. All right. So this is what we got. Mahomes, Allen, Burrow, Lamar, Dak, Baker, Hurts, Goff, Stafford, Purdy's your top 10. I think that sounds about right, right? I mean,
that's solid.
Yeah. Some people might not like the Purdy at number 10. You can make the case for Daniels, you can make the case for Stroud, you can make the case for Nix, Herbert, Love, all those guys really. But Purdy 10, let's see, we got Tyler Shook as the worst. Where does Trevor Lawrence at 23? I actually think that's a good spot. For as much as we maybe had some trolling, Trevor Lawrence, I think, is kind of that, right? I think we agree. Yeah. I knew because when I did this quiz by myself, I knew Fields and Rodgers were back to back. I personally had Rodgers in front of Fields, but today I took Fields over Rodgers. So 26, that's about right. Fields right now is kind of in that area. Russ in that area.
I had very similar. Only difference, I might have had Tua a little higher.
Yeah, Tua's pretty low. 18.
Yeah.
Like you could probably make a case to take Tua over Geno and probably Darnold.
Yeah. And Knicks, if you are just going off of maybe Knicks if you're just going off of like already proven track record.
Yeah.
But I had Tua a little higher, but I like what we have. I think this is solid. This has proved my point of Dak being a top 5 quarterback. I don't care what nobody says. But yeah.
I also think Tua proves that like Baker Mayfield is a lot higher than some people I think have him. Like Mayfield's a good quarterback. Mayfield is easily a top 8, top 7 quarterback. You want to maybe say Hurts is better. You want to maybe say Goff's better. You can make those arguments, even Stafford, but he's clearly entrenched in the top 10, just outside of the top 5. And I think the top 5 is pretty good. Allen or Mahomes, Allen, Burrow, Lamar, Dak. Personally, I mean, I think you can make the case for Dak over Lamar, but that's just me. If we really want to get crazy. And I think you can make the case Burrow over Allen. I personally think the quarterback that's closest to challenge Mahomes would be Burrow. But
yeah, I agree.
That's a different subject for another day. All right. So those are our quarterback rankings, already an hour in here. So I guess we can kind of quickly hit on some of the other stuff before we close some things out and then get you on your way here. Stefon Diggs, tight end stuff. What are your thoughts on the Stefon Diggs situation in New England? It's ugly. Drake May went from having a legitimate number 1 option to maybe not even completing a practice with the guy. We heard that they might actually cut him. I mean, it's an ugly situation. And from Diggs, it's pretty disappointing because I don't think we've ever really seen this out of him. So something that it's not like this has been something that's been happening for a while. But yeah, I mean, it's an ugly start to his Patriots tenure.
Oh yeah, well, like I said, we'll go a little rapid fire here. I didn't think the QB quiz didn't take that long when I did it. So so thank you for the hour that y'all want to spend watching the QB quiz. But yeah, rapid fire on Diggs. Yeah, it's disappointing. I mean, you look at that wide receiver room, you take him out of that. It's Demario Douglas, Kyle Williams, Mac Hollins, Kendrick Bourne, to name a few, obviously Jalen Polk. So they brought Diggs in to be that veteran leader. And even though Diggs is not put on that Patriot uniform yet, like you can technically say the voice of the Patriots right now. You and Drake made you with the most vet experience. So it kind of sucks for him to I don't say go out like that, but like you said, Diggs has never been a problem in the media, never been a problem within his career. And you see this part of it and you're disappointed because you have to be smarter. Obviously, you being Stefon Diggs, very well known. Now you in a relationship with you in a relationship with Cardi B, who is a very well known artist, cameras everywhere. There's always going to be spotlight on you. So kind of disappointing that he is on this path of how this kind of started, especially considering you were not even active for training camp.
Yep.
So for Diggs, if he is cut, I mean, I get it. I understand it. The Patriot way, if there's like two teams where you can't go out and make bonehead mistakes, that is New England and that is Pittsburgh. And Vrabel is going to bring that Pat type of way, kind of keep that Belichick type of way of, hey, there's a no tolerance for any foolishness. Diggs crossed that line. Hopefully he isn't cut, but if he is, I'm not surprised. Tough way for Diggs to start in New England.
Yeah, I agree. And it's just a tough spot for him, too, at this stage in his career. New England kind of seemed like a spot to not revive his career. That's too strong, but have a little bit of a resurgence after the injury last year in Houston and the way it ended in Buffalo. And it's a bad start. And you mentioned it. I mean, the Patriot way, Vrabel coming in, he's not a guy that's going to take any of that type of off the field nonsense. Belichick, of course, definitely wouldn't. The Patriots in general wouldn't. You mentioned the Steelers. Those are like two teams you can't do that stuff with. Especially now with the Patriots where they're trying to rebuild the culture a bit after it's been fractured over the last couple of years with the losing and the post-Brady, post-Belichick era. So, yeah, and from the Patriots football perspective, yeah, I mean, it's a tough blow if he does get cut, where you went from DeMario Douglas being your 2 to Kyle Williams, those guys now having to step up in the bigger roles if Diggs is out. Plus, they don't have a tight end really. I mean, Hunter Henry's nothing to really write home about. So, yeah, ugly start in New England for Diggs. As for the tight end stuff, Jonnu Smith maybe to Pittsburgh. You look at Kyle Pitts potentially being traded, which, by the way, it is crazy how hyped up Kyle Pitts was coming out of college. And unfortunately, just not, some of it's been the coaching, some of it's been where he's at, some of it's been, himself just not always playing well. But I mean, you talk about a guy that was so hyped up to now potentially being traded before his rookie contract's even up. What are your thoughts on those two moves? Pittsburgh trying to add somebody, add another weapon there. What are your thoughts there?
If Jonnu Smith does land in Pittsburgh, I like the move for Pittsburgh. Hate it for Miami. I really don't understand why guys go somewhere, have a career year. I guess you could say the same about Sam Darnold, implying to that. Go somewhere, have a career year, and get shipped off or not re-signed. Doesn't make sense. Jonnu's coming off his best year as a pro. He was a Pro Bowler, 88 catches, 884 yards, 8 touchdowns. And we just seen games, like we have saw games for him last year where the offense didn't look too great, but he looked phenomenal. And, he had 11, 12, 13 targets when the other guys couldn't get going. So for Miami, I don't understand it. For Pittsburgh, I like it. If you pair him with Freiermuth and you don't move on, you do add more of that athletic pass catcher type of guy to the offense, more of your receiver type of guy in a tight end's body. So would love that for Pittsburgh. Again, I'm not going to go back over it. We talked about their weapons. We bashed their weapons. That'd be a good move for them. So let's see what they decide to do.
Yeah, I agree. I think it'd be add a little of explosiveness, add another weapon. You've got Freiermuth there right now. In terms of last season, Jonnu Smith was definitely the better player.
Yeah.
And just from the Miami perspective, they're in an interesting spot. They, to me, are just at this point plateauing. I think there's a chance they don't even make the playoffs this year. And I don't know if you saw the other day, but you see that clip of Tyreek Hill saying how there's sometimes he wanted to fight Mike McDaniel.
Yeah.
Did you see that?
I did.
So I don't know. Miami's just they're a circus sometimes. So yeah, they're interesting where they're at with just that roster in general. Like they haven't gotten better, they haven't gone significantly worse, but they haven't really done. They've kind of plateaued, and that's not going to be good enough in the AFC, especially in the division with the Buffalo Bills, who are in the Super Bowl conversation year in and year out. Yeah, for Pittsburgh, it'd be a good move. And hey, it's another one option for whoever their quarterback is, which they need as much help as they can get. As for the Pitt stuff, what are your thoughts? Do you think it actually happens? Falcons, it seems like they could trade them, but they're not going to deal them unless if it's for a day 2 pick, which is kind of about the range you'd expect right now. Giants may be a team. You've seen some rumored teams that could be involved. Giants were one of the teams that were linked to Kyle Pitts as being a landing spot for, Russ, Dart, whoever's under center there. Right now they've got Theo Johnson out of Penn State, who played a little bit last year as the 4th round pick. So what are your thoughts on the Kyle Pitts stuff?
I don't know if he actually gets traded. I mean, I feel like this is a definitely second, maybe even third off season. We're talking about Kyle Pitts and possibly being moved on because they're, obviously the production hasn't been there, like you said. I mean, the pre-draft hype was insane. He's going into year 5 now. Guy's had 10 touchdowns in 4 years. He had 1,000-yard season. That was his rookie year. And outside of, 2022 when he missed the 7 games, he has played basically all season. He's played 15 each of the last 2 years and hasn't even cracked 800 yards. So, like you kind of mentioned, is it the offense? Is it himself? Is something with the system? Is the quarterback play? Like, what can it possibly be? Either way, Kyle Pitts is not kind of answered the call and became the guy he was supposed to be. I know another team that was linked to him last year and not linked too much this year, but they're linked to everybody. They might sign me if I'm available. But obviously being Dallas, another one that they kind of flirted with, and I wouldn't be mad at that. Pitts and Jake Ferguson together, and Pickens, that's a nice offense. More reason to show why Dak is a top 5 QB. But for Pitts, I think it is time for a fresh start. Him in Atlanta, I don't think they're ever going to get what they wanted from Kyle Pitts. Start fresh. We've seen it before. We've seen it with Darnold this year. We've seen it with Baker in Tampa. Sometimes guys need to go to new places, new homes, and you kind of go on that career path that they were hoping to do. And I think that's what it is for Pitts. But Atlanta, I think that experiment is over.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think a lot of it personally has been coaching. And I think you saw that last year, specifically with Bijan Robinson, where he had a much better season once Arthur Smith got out. Pitts, not so much. But yeah, I mean, Pitts, Ferguson. It was funny. I was reading in landing spots on CBS Sports the other day. Cowboys were there.
They're always going to be there. They are always going to be there.
I think they'd be interested in us.
Absolutely. And then we'll go sign elsewhere for a lot more money.
Yeah, sign elsewhere. And in the Saquon situation, go win a Super Bowl?
Yep, basically Offensive Player of the Year, something like that. And then a pod or something, radio show come out later. Hey, Dallas never even called me. It's usually how it goes.
Yep. All righty. So that's an episode. Any closing thoughts?
Nick, watch tonight. Other than that, no. Thank you again for watching.
Yep. Thanks for tuning in. We'll be back next week. So stay tuned. It'll be June. Last month without training camp, if you think about it. So we're getting closer. So stay tuned. Appreciate you all and talk to you soon.